Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David Rooney, publisher of the Revelstoke Current, and welcome to In Conversation, my regular program on politics in Revelstoke. And oh joy, do I have politics for you today. My guest today is Grry Taft, the NDP candidate for the upcoming provincial election on May 9th. Gerry, welcome to In Conversation.
Thank you.
I've got 4 questions for you. I'm sure you're going to find this a piece of cake. Number 1 is, who are you? And what personal qualities make you the best candidate for MLA?
Good question. So as you said, my name is Gerry, and I've been involved in politics. I started getting involved in grade 3 and in a class council situation, and later progressed through high school into doing youth parliament. And then at quite a young age, at 20, I ran for council in Invermere and was elected to council in 2002. And I served on council for that time until 2008, and then in 2008 I ran for mayor and was successful. And so since 2008 I've been mayor of Invermere and also serving on the regional district of East Kootenay. And through most of that time as well, I've been running my own small business. So in 2004 I opened Gerry's Gelati and started as a fairly small ice cream shop and built it into several locations and wholesale business. And just recently sold that business in January to focus more on this campaign. So that's a lot of the history and kind of my background, but also who I am as a person. And I'm very practical, and I try to look for win-win solutions and try to break through not just philosophy, but also look at solutions and how can we actually get things accomplished. So my time working in local government has been very focused on actions and on trying to get things accomplished. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons that I've been motivated to run provincially, is to keep having roadblocks and keep being told no from the province on trying to do certain unique projects and try to bring the community forward. And I've got frustrated with hearing no too many times and really sensing an attitude right now where rural communities and individual people, small businesses, they're not even on the radar. They're currently not being respected, they're not being listened to, and unless you're a major donor, it doesn't sound like Christy Clark really has the time to listen to you.
Well, that's unfortunate. But, okay. When did you realize you wanted to stand for elected office provincially? Is there any one issue or situation that convinced you to run for the NDP candidacy?
There's been a kind of a combination of many issues. So over the years, seeing the jumbo proposal and how that was handled, the creation of a municipality with no residents, and HST, quite a few things that have been put forward by the BC Liberals, which did not have public support and were not respected by local residents, and yet there seemed to be no concern about that, and that to me was fundamentally wrong. The other thing that was a huge part of me deciding to run provincially was the mentorship and the example that Norm Macdonald has provided. So over the last 12 years, working as a mayor and working with him as my MLA, what I've always experienced from him is a willingness to put the people and the communities first. He's never the first one out trying to take credit for things, and it's not about a personal ego. And so to me, that is an example of what politicians should be, and that's something that inspired me to try to be a politician like Norm Macdonald. So when it became clear that Norm was thinking about not running again and finishing his career in politics, that gave me kind of the opportunity to reflect and see if moving forward in provincial politics is what I wanted to do.
And clearly it is.
Yes, sir.
Do you have ambitions beyond being just a simple MLA?
At this point, my whole focus is knocking on doors and campaigning and getting elected on May 9th. So right now that is the focus, I'd very much love to be an effective MLA and serve this region for a long time.
Well, you're a young guy. How old are you?
So I'm 34, I'll be 35 in June.
Okay, well, that's still pretty young. Yeah. What have you learned about yourself since you got into politics municipally and throughout this pre-campaign period? You learn anything about yourself?
There's always a lot to learn, and I think if someone is not learning about themselves, then they are not really listening and paying attention. So some of the things that I've learned is, and it's been a long time to kind of come, but it's not to take everything personally and to not necessarily have a thin skin. But on the same hand, you can't be so oblivious to what people's comments are and to public mood that you plow ahead with things without paying attention and without caring about people. So it is balance between caring about people, caring about the issues, but also able to take criticism and able to take what are sometimes attacks and can sometimes be quite personal attacks. And if anything, it's something that's unfortunate in our political system now, is it seems completely acceptable to focus on attacking people versus policies. And that seems to be reality. So if you want to be in politics, you have to figure out a way to be able to manage that.
Politics has always been a combination of the two, always. It's not new. But you mentioned achieving goals for the people. This is a big riding. Have you been through the entire riding so far?
So we've spent a lot of time reaching out outside of my kind of base in Invermere.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a bit of time in Kimberley and quite a bit of time door knocking in Golden. And to be honest, I've probably spent the most time in Revelstoke and had quite a few different weekends and events here, and I've really got to know some of the base and the people that have worked on the NDP campaigns in the past. But I've also tried to reach out and meet some new people and try to get new people engaged and involved. And so far the feedback in Revelstoke has been very positive. If there's any area in the riding that I haven't been to yet, would be probably Field, mm-hmm. which I'll make sure to get to. But other than that, it's been quite a bit of attention traveling around and getting through the entire riding.
How about places like Ferguson and whistle stops like that? You've been to those places yet?
Not yet, to be honest.
Okay.
So.
Okay. What do you have a sense of what people want here?
Yes, I think what people are looking for is local representation. So they want a strong leader and a strong voice that's going to represent this region and represent the communities in the region back to Victoria. And they want to make sure that issues that matter to people here are heard in Victoria. What they don't want is someone spouting a party line and taking Victoria back to here. And unfortunately, we saw that in 2001 with a previous BC Liberal MLA.
Wendy McMahon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that time, we saw hospitals closed, forestry offices closed, government services slashed, and the message that was coming from the communities in this riding did not seem to be making it back to Victoria. It was a one-way flow of information.
Do you have a good sense of what people want now? Like beyond being just a strong voice for community aspirations, are people asking you what you can get done?
I think people want to cut the BS and cut some of the rhetoric and not just hear government advertising and jobs plans and these sort of fancy things and smiles and hard hats. People want real decisions and real investments in community. And what we've seen in the last few weeks is lots of money being shoveled out the door right before the RIF drops. And I think a lot of people are seeing through that, and they see that that's not a sustainable form of governance. That's not how projects should be funded or decided upon. It is strategically where can you put money out right before an election to try to get the most results. And so I think what people are looking for is that investment in education, in healthcare, in childcare, support for seniors, and trying to build local economies. So encouraging communities that can then sustain small businesses. And what a lot of the hype out there with whether it's LNG or whether it's large scale resource projects, very few people in this riding and in our communities would actually benefit or be employed by these. Yet it's small businesses in our communities that have done quite well in the last year and are hiring more people and expanding. Other people are choosing to become self-employed and start their own businesses. And I think this is a lot more relevant for people than some of the rhetoric and some of the political spin that we've seen.
Okay, this I mentioned earlier the size of this riding. I mean, it's huge, and there almost seems to be no one set of issues, to my mind, that galvanize people. You get that sense? I mean, this is a city, this is a riding of really different, diverse regions. You hearing the same message here as you hear in perhaps say Invermere or Kimberley?
Well, one thing I'm really happy about with this provincial riding is that the size is about 1/3 of the federal riding right now. And that although each community has its uniquenesses, there are a lot of similarities. Kimberley, Invermere, Golden, Revelstoke, they all have strong economies that have a strong element of tourism. There's quite a bit of influence as far as real estate from outside folks, whether that's Alberta or international. And there's some of the issues around housing affordability, the desire to have more local food, the desire to grow the local economy and support small businesses. These are actually very consistent among those 4 major communities in the riding. So in that way, I'm really glad that the riding is not any larger, and I'm also very glad that there are some very unique and independent communities, but the underlying issues are not that different. So compared to other regions, there's no outlier kind of industrial or coal mine area mixed in with tourism. It is fairly consistent through the riding.
Okay. Any last words you'd like to share with your audience?
I encourage everyone to come out and attend the public debates and the public forums, and to read some of the information that will be in the various local media, and to be informed this election. If they're not sure who they're going to vote for priority, I think it's really important that people take a bit of time and listen to the candidates and see the differences. And I do think there are differences. I think you'll see quite a bit of contrast between both the candidates personally, but also the platforms in their parties. And ultimately, the Christy Clark and her group, they have been focused on the wealthy and the well-connected. And that's something that I think a lot of people are getting angry with. And we need to move away from having the big money in politics, and we need to focus on people and a government that wants to work for you.
Okay. Grry Taft, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And that concludes this edition of In Conversation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.